Lionel Messi is a World Cup champion. Maybe some of you thought it was in the mail, maybe some of you thought it was something that would never happen. But the reality is, well, Argentina just won the World Cup in one of the most epic World Cup finals, in one of the most controversial World Cups, or controversially covered World Cups, should I say, of our lifetime at least. There have been other controversial things that have happened globally. Of course, we need to acknowledge very early on here that Lionel Messi has now completed the set, shall we say? I know there are a lot of people who question so many things about so many great players out there, but a performance like that in the final, a performance like this throughout the tournament, player of the tournament, obviously, but also so close to winning the Golden Boot himself and putting in a performance like that on that stage, it goes without saying at this point that I think he sits alongside MJ, maybe LeBron, Tom Brady, Wayne Gretzky. We're talking that level of player, to the point where the Americans at the game could actually understand how good Lionel Messi was. The point was, this was such a great final, such an uncagey, so well fought affair, not necessarily quality-wise, but definitely in the terms of these two sides going head-to-head, that the quality of both of the two best players on the field, if not any of the five best players on the field, shone through in different moments as the game ebbed and flowed. But Messi himself remained very consistent throughout the game, even when he was tired, even when it felt as if the match was possibly slipping away from him. And this is what, for me, the tournament we remembered for. Lionel Messi overcoming so many of those narrative obstacles that people put in his way, or at least painted as if they were in his way. For years, we've talked about, is he good enough to lead this team? Is he good enough to lead a side all the way? Is he not absent at times? There are times where he's not given the right speech. There are times where he's not interacting enough with the players around him. Is he prone to a comeback? And when I say prone to a comeback, I mean, is he prone to losing to a comeback? And so that's the satisfying element of this. It isn't a final that fizzled out and in the end it was a Messi goal that was the only thing that was the difference. It isn't a final that people can write off and say, well, it was that specific guy who did this specific thing and, well, maybe it could have been better. They beat the current world champions, or at least the previous world champions, to become the new world champions. There is nothing more special. In the game itself, you would say, early on, I think Argentina did exactly what Argentina would have wanted and were given the space to do so by France. France should never have given them that in the first place. And the frustration definitely seemed clear from the entire team. It also obviously seemed very clear from Didier Deschamps, who made very early substitutions of Olivier Giroud and Ousmane Dembele, weirdly. Would you really take off two attackers at any one time? Maybe indicating the ravaged nature of this France team this week. The fact that this team have been through so much illness, so much going on, maybe even emotionally behind the scenes with the likes of Karim Benzema, maybe just questioning certain things. This was always going to be maybe just one step too far for them. Especially considering that earlier on in the tournament, there are a lot of people at every turn who went, it could have been us that went through against them. It could have been us in that position. England, not least. So when France came back and there was this inevitability of France on the comeback, you started to feel that there must have been these doubting, nagging thoughts in Lionel Messi's mind. There would have been this idea that it's happening again. As a Liverpool fan, obviously, I know what I'm referencing. Other fans will know what we're referencing. But that's why it took so much more. And that's why when France didn't put Argentina to bed, the Argentines struck back and it was no one less than Lionel Messi with the goal himself, putting them back ahead and then it going the other way. In that moment, you could again have forgiven Messi for thinking it may be slipping away. But this was a gritty, determined, possibly angry and possibly we have something to prove type side that Argentina and frankly any World Cup winning side seems to exhibit at some point. People underestimate what Argentina are possibly capable of. Maybe down to the fact that they are so geographically different to most other countries globally. Maybe the fact that there are elements of their history that some people overlook. And there are also so many different dogmatic ideologies attached to Argentina that people don't quite know what to make of it as a country. Of course, people always reference post-World War II things, but let's talk about the fact that for a very long time, it was either a very defensive team or a very attacking side. Go read Angels with Dirty Faces by Jonathan Wilson. And then came along someone like Maradona, then came along someone like Messi, then came along people who add that little bit of sparkle, that little bit of something that differentiates these people from everyone else in the world, that gives them someone to look up to, that gives them someone that they can go, that guy is ours. And for a long time, it felt like Argentina wanted to be able to go, that guy is ours. It's not just Barcelona's, it's not Europe's, it's not PSG's, it's ours. And in South America, we're the guys who have a guy. Sure, Brazil, you wish you had a guy right now. Sure, you guys over there, you've got Luis Suarez in Uruguay, or, you've got Alexis Sanchez, and some of our neighbors. Or, there are certain people in certain places that everyone remembers and loves. But Messi is now unequivocally the greatest player of all time. The greatest football player to ever do it. The greatest football player tactically, the greatest football player technically, in so many different capacities. I don't know why at this point it actually matters about the debate between Ronaldo and Messi. It maybe is because going into the twilight of your career, twilight is meant to feel like this. Twilight is meant to feel sweet. It's meant to feel like you can savor the moment. It's meant to feel like, wow, look how good life is. And a World Cup final is so fitting for that, right? Not only because you're standing there appreciating what you're seeing like you do in that sunset twilight period, but also because anyone else who looks at that can also see that element too. Anyone turning towards a sunset will go, oh, that's what you saw. And it's that collective element of reflection I think has caught on to a lot of people. You saw like influencers and people tweeting, Instagramming, doing whatever from the game. You saw a lot of people who've gone specifically for this moment, this social moment of a World Cup final. It wasn't just like, hey, I'm going for the football. It was, I'm going for this moment. It was an acknowledgement that football does something that no other sport really globally can do. It feels so tangible, so real to people who have so little investment. And there's very often so little, or I don't get why this is a thing, but this World Cup summarised that perfectly, and that's what I'm saying. The mixture of Messi, the passing of the torch to Mbappe, who also scored a hat-trick, by the way, and obviously went on to get top scorer within the tournament. There were other great moments within there. It is like MJ and LeBron going head-to-head. It is like that. There isn't really any other. I mean, maybe there's some other quarterbacks, or maybe that there's some crossover between people. It is a bit like Nadal, Federer, or Djokovic, Federer, one or the other. But the point is, even when Mbappe did do something special, Argentina went one more. There's that Martinez moment. There is that grit, that sort of like almost complete lack of self-awareness and pure determination to just win this thing, which is kind of what you need. The France team almost seemed a little too self-aware, a little too reflective on what was going on, a little too currently French, maybe. And I don't mean that in the stereotypical way. I mean that in a like, we aren't quite blunt enough to go and win a World Cup at this point, or quite graceful enough the other way. There was something that wasn't quite topping that French cake, and Argentina, it seemed, had everything. What I did particularly enjoy about it was the Qataris and FIFA the Qatari powerful people seem to have gotten into bed with FIFA. And so all these what should be beautiful moments, a robe going on to Messi, explained by commentators, clearly something that was planned before but wasn't told to any host broadcasters or any of the journalists out there. And the reason I know that is because even the most culturally sensitive, most culturally aware of the journalists in the Western media that I know were tweeting jokes about this. Even the people who you consider to be very woke were tweeting jokes about that robe. Because no one had been briefed. No one knew what it was unless they had some sort of cultural connection to that part of the world. And even then, they questioned it because they said, do we do that in any other country? And that's the weird thing about this, is I think a lot of people were very open to a cultural exchange at this World Cup. But it was the fact that the cultural exchange came attached to these icky factors that a lot of people didn't like. So there is still something that it will never clean this World Cup completely. I think Roy Keane was right. There is something stained about this World Cup. It's just I'm trying to work out who stained it still. And I don't think it is, as some people would say, the culture of that country. I think there is so much more to that. But I do think it's stained by money, and I do think it's stained by other things. I think Messi, in some senses, helped overcome that. I think this incredible final helped, in some senses, overcome that, and maybe leave us with a sweet taste. Messi is now going back to domestic football. The narrative of the rest of the season, no matter what you want it to be, is going to be about the World Cup holder, the World Cup winners, coming back and doing something amazing on their return, right? It could be that they come back and they win the Champions League. It could be that they come back and they just have a great time in the Premier League or in Liga or wherever it is, right? It won't be the same for Ronaldo. Ronaldo has now left the Premier League, vacated, should we say, and could be off to Saudi. There are other things with that. Other attached factors, should we say, that may lead to Ronaldo's further questioning. The last images of Ronaldo in this tournament were Ronaldo sobbing on the way out. I'm sure there are other feelings attached to that for a lot of people. And you know what? I'm sure there are a lot of people who will be defending him down in the comments. Absolutely get in those comments, because there will be a video of that in the coming days. Argentina deserve this. And you know what? I thought Argentina had the capacity to either completely fall apart or to go all the way. And my prediction was they would fall apart at some point. But the grit, the determination, the overcoming of all the things that have been leveled at Messi over the last few years makes this special now. These incredible moments of him holding up a World Cup, of him kissing it on the way through, of as far as people as far as you can see in Buenos Aires. I'm really looking forward to that Ellie Menjum documentary. There is something special about what's happened here. It feels like a moment in time, a piece of punctuation, a passing of the torch alongside the end of something, and alongside something even more special in just seeing Lionel Messi, someone in our time, do something that was affirmative of the great legacy that they had. So, it's a reason to celebrate. I think it's fantastic. Winning a World Cup is a big achievement, whether the media want to acknowledge or not, whether the people want to mix it up with political ideas or not, because everything is inherently politically mixed. But the point would be, do you want to do that in a muddy way, or do you want to actually have an honest conversation about that? Do you want to look at the people who are acting in good faith and actually trying to discuss and have a discourse around these things? Or do you actually just want to talk to the people who want to damn the East and the West and say the two will never mix? Never the twain shall mix, something like that. Congratulations, Messi, but also congratulations the rest of your team. Di Maria, exceptional achievement. He first played with Messi in 2008, I think the Olympics it was at the time. Congratulations to the young guys who came through and had their photos with Lionel Messi. Congratulations to the young striker who will head back to Man City. Congratulations to the young guy who got in all the photos in the background, Lazandro. Congratulations to Otamendi, the guy who most people, when they left Man City, would have said was finished. Congratulations to Martinez, a guy who people in the Premier League probably make fun of. Congratulations to a coach who came from the same place as Lionel Messi, Newell's Old Boys, set up by, I think it was someone who came from the UK. Was it not an immigrant or well, obviously an immigrant from the UK, an immigrant into Argentina back in the day. And congratulations to the greatest of all time. I've probably got some really meaningful thoughts that I would like to impart at some point, right? Really good thoughts. But for now, it's all about celebration of Argentina. It's all about what those guys have built and achieved and made. Let me know down in the comments below what your favourite memory of the World Cup was. I will be doing all of that in a summary video at some point, possibly tomorrow, possibly the day after, who knows. But let me know, what was your greatest memory of this World Cup? What is your resounding feeling? Because that is what is important here. People can talk about stats and moments they remember. The thing that you are remembered for as a footballer is how you made people feel. I can show footage to my 2.5-year-old son in a few years' time and go, that guy did that consistently for over 15 years. He was consistently brilliant for over 15 years. And we watched it grow to that point where it almost felt like he was about to tip over the edge. We thought it was maybe over when he went to PSG. We thought, is the World Cup beyond him as he leaves Barcelona, that comfortable place? And actually leaving Barcelona could be one of the best things he ever did, especially for his relations with the public and everyone else, and the perceptions. And in fact, regardless, I think, of whether you want to have this GOAT status conversation or not, what you do have to acknowledge is how Lionel Messi plays the game and the brilliance of that, in isolation or in context of the rest of football. Watch him completely on his own. You're watching someone as skilled as the most brilliant prima ballerina. Watch him in sync with everyone else, and you're watching one of the greatest conductors of all time. Congratulations, Lionel. The World Cup and the peak of the tip, of the very top of the greatest mountain in the world is finally yours. You planted your flag. You've taken that moment at the same time as you managed to pass everything on to the next generation. I've got lots more thoughts about this World Cup, but I'll chat to you guys in a little while. Much love.